I'd like to welcome each and every individual to Voices of Integrity podcast for the Virtual Coffee Connection. And it is Thanksgiving morning. And I don't know what it is about holidays, but boy, I love doing podcasts on holidays. I mean, some of the best podcasts I've ever done are on holidays. I mentioned it to Tom Coons. He and I have done a lot of podcasts on holidays, and they've been life changing. And I mentioned to him, I said, "Hey, we have something. We're doing Thanksgiving morning." He says, "Oh, that'd be great." I said, "Yeah, but it's 6:30, Eastern time. He's Pacific time, so it'd be 3:30 his side." He said, "I might pass on that one." So, like, what got us up early on a Thanksgiving was like the topic of discipline and self-discipline and that whole concept. And so I have so many thoughts. I mean, my mind is just, I've been looking for, like, it's almost like Christmas morning. I can't wait to get up. I can't wait to get up and talk about discipline and self-discipline. This is going to be the coolest thing in the world. And so all of you can interrupt me and ask, whatever. Don't let me take over. Amy, let's turn it over to you because you're the one that kind of inspired this whole thing.
Yeah. So I love discipline. And although I'm excited, most people find it very boring. It's not sexy. Discipline is not a sexy topic.
Are you kidding?
That's literally the feedback I get. Like, people aren't interested. If they would do it, if it was sexy, Mark, people would do it. And they wouldn't be like stressed out all the time and behind on projects, right?
See, this is the yeah. So this is just this, yeah, Amy's teasing and taunting me. Like she's teasing and taunting me. Um
Go,
so
Amy.
Good morning, Rob.
so yeah, so I'm a little nervous here. I'm like, this could go ahead and get off track, really off the rails, really, really fast. I don't know. Like, discipline is like one of the sexiest things in the world.
But not for most people. I think
Why
so too,
not?
Mark. But people don't want to do it, right? Because it's structure. They think structure and routine is boring, but that's how you win, right? If you have, and mind you, I am a spontaneous person. On a Thursday night in 2005, I decided that Friday night I was driving to New York City to be inside of Times Square, and we did it. And I slept in a car at a truck stop because there's no hotel rooms in New York City the night before the ball drops, right? So
Well,
you
see,
can,
this is what's fascinating because people say a lot of things about me, Amy. A lot of things about me.
yeah, there's a
Like,
book written about you, How to Deal with Mark for Idiots.
right? It's actually Mark Boersma for Dummies, but there's probably a second one that's coming out.
That's right. That's the title of my book. I'm sorry.
No, that's a good one. I like that one too. But it's interesting because people say, Mark, you're not a spontaneous guy. It's like you have no idea. Like, I'm so good at spontaneity, I can plan it. They're like, you can't plan it. I'm like, yes, I can. And so, like, when we go on vacation, you ever try going on vacation with a wife and 7 kids? Do you have any
Luckily,
idea
no,
how hard that is to make everybody happy?
that would be extremely hard. I thought it was hard with just 3 kids.
Oh, it's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So what we would do is I would plan a day for spontaneity.
Yeah,
So there's no
excellent idea.
plan. It's like, come and get up when you want, do whatever you
Yep.
want. It's like, obviously people aren't that smart. They're not good at spontaneity and they're not, I mean, so plan spontaneity, it really is a thing. And so I think, it's interesting on how things get twisted around. Like, even everybody's consistent. Everybody is. Even inconsistent people are consistent because they're consistently inconsistent, which goes ahead and leads to a whole bunch of
Yeah.
issues. So a lack of discipline, like if you're on this podcast and you don't find discipline sexy, I just feel bad for you.
Yeah. Well, And Mark, you're talking about the inconsistent people being inconsistent, right? That's habits. All discipline is some structured habits that you've stacked and built around your life to make life simple so you don't wear out your brain trying to think of what is my next step every day. You have your next step is already planned. It's a habit. Your brain automatically fires on it.
Right. So I wasn't expecting that. I'm like, really? Like, I people don't find discipline sexy? Like, sheepers. Like, so I don't know which path to go down here. Do you have anything else you want to share? Because we start going down this path, Amy, and it's yeah. Any
Let's
other?
go down the path, Mark. Let's just go. I'm a
Well,
just
do you
do it
have
kind of
other
girl.
thoughts on discipline before we start moving?
Well, as business owners, right? Think about your business. If you're not
Right?
disciplined in your personal life, you're probably not going to be disciplined in your business life.
Right?
And systems and structure make the business. It makes you able to delegate. It
Yep.
makes you able to not work 50, 60, 70 hours. You can work 20, 30, 40 hours and have a normal life, right? So all those things tie back into discipline, habits, routine, structure, and systems.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
see, so this is like one of the things, and one of the things I'm working on is I'm working on a system for self-discipline. See, most people
Oh,
don't understand self-discipline. They just don't. It's like, well, what is self? Yes, somebody ask everybody, what's self-discipline? Most of them will say, well, it's doing things, you're supposed to do or you don't want to do. It's like, no, that's not. I mean, it is self. That's being disciplined. That's discipline. It's not self discipline. Like, were you never disciplined as a child? Do you not understand what discipline is? So, self discipline is when you don't do something you should do and you discipline yourself. You invoke pain on yourself. You know, I mean, you can do pleasure, pain and pleasure. We know based on psychology that pain is a higher motivator. So, like when our kids were little, like we tried to teach them self discipline. It's getting harder and harder in today's world, it seems like, but they would literally be 3 years old, like Lincoln, Nora's son. Like they would literally be 3 years old, and I'd be like, okay, well, you made like bad choices, bad consequences. Good choices, good consequences. This is not a complicated concept, but adults don't understand it. Like a 3 year old understands it better than an adult does. So they would literally at 2 years old, and we got a granddaughter who's one, and I think she might understand it. And so they couldn't even say the word consequence. I'd say like good choices, they go good consies, daddy. Yeah, bad choices, bad consies. Like they couldn't even say consequence, but they understood the concept. Why adults aren't able to understand something that a 2 year old can understand is mind numbing to me. I just don't understand it.
I
Like,
think it's because what happens is people get older and they're used to being in control of their lives. They develop this idea that they can ignore negative consequences and they can just accept the bad ones and create, it's they think
can
they've got
somebody
more control.
translate what Rob is saying to for
yeah.
me? Because I have my social autism that's kicking in, and so can you somebody translate that for me?
Well, Rob, I agree. As adults, we just give in to our whims, right? If we're not
Yeah,
disciplined or we choose not to. And then it's like, I'll just live with the regret and shame later. It's not that big of a deal. Or I
yeah.
didn't meet the deadline, not a big deal. I'm just pushing it down the road instead of really feeling the consequence or owning it and then wondering when you look back for a year or two why your life stinks.
Yep.
Okay, can somebody translate this for me? Because I'm having a hard time understanding what is being said here.
So, Mark, when's the last time you've been undisciplined in something? And did you have any shame, regrets, or guilt over it or disappointment?
No. Was that the answer I was supposed to give or not?
I just wanted the honest answer, so that's the answer. There is no, it's got to be your answer.
I mean, like once when I was flying to Atlanta every month and I was doing TV, I was doing like 20, 30 episodes a month, and I'd fly down there and I'd do it in the TV, in the TV studio and stuff. And the individual, the woman who owned the TV, brilliant lady, and she went ahead and said, hey, after, I don't know, 2 or 3 trips down there, and I don't know, 30, 40 episodes, she's like, hey, can you and I go on a walk? And I'm like, yeah, sure. No, totally. And so we go on a walk, and she's like, I have 2 questions for you, Mark. And I said, okay, shoot. She said, the first one is like, Katrina, your middle daughter, like all the other kids you've given stories about, but you haven't. And I was just curious as why. Now, the first thing I'm thinking is, dang, that girl's good. Like, I can't even keep track of their names. Like with the 4 girls, I'll go, Ginger Ann, Katrina, Melissa, oh, Angela. Like, I just go through. Like, it's just, so I can't even, but she's tracking all of this. I'm like, well, that's a great question. I said, she's been the hardest one for me to connect with emotionally. Like, it's just hard. And she's the middle child. So that changed my entire life from that point on. Changed my entire life for her. I'm like, I'm leaving her out, so I became more intentional in it. And so that was really helpful. And then I said, what's your second question? She said, I'm just curious, like, what happens when you get out of control?
Mm.
What's that?
Yeah, Mark.
Like, what's that? Like, can somebody translate what Amy said? Like, what's that? Like,
Well, so let's not even say out of control. Let's just step that back a minute. I'll give you an example. I typically eat very well, like very healthy foods. But every now and then I will crave something fast food. Like the urge is real. I'm like, I just really want to go get, Burger King, McDonald's, whatever. And it tastes so good in the moment. But a few hours later, even a day later, I still don't feel good from it because my body is not used to processing that kind of food. So I wasn't disciplined. I should have just said no to the craving.
but then what would have you talked about on this podcast to
Well, I know.
normalize yourself with other people? So my international speaking coach, once I called her up and I said, hey, Linda, I have some questions for you. I don't understand things. And she laughed. I didn't even ask the question. A lot of people laugh when they're around me, which is fascinating to me because I'll ask them why they're laughing, especially my daughters. And they're like, we're laughing with you, Dad. I'm like, but I'm not laughing. So I get the impression they're laughing at me, but my social autism, I'm not sure. So anyway, she laughs and she says, what's your question, Mark? And I said, like, I don't understand, like, why are best-selling authors on relationship, why have they been divorced 3 times? And best-selling authors on financial management have been bankrupt 4 times. I'm like, I don't understand that. She laughs again. And she's like, you're so naive. I'm like, I am. I don't understand. She said, and Tom Coons, he said, he went ahead and said the masses are asses, and it's so what translated back, closing the loop, I like what I heard in my social autistic state is you and Rob saying, adults are just stupid.
Yeah. I mean, they take the path of least resistance and they go for the mundane instead of for the great. And if life's just good, they're okay with just good. They're not
Why?
striving for excellence. Boredom, not interested, distracted. I mean, think of all the things that are thrown at us in a day. So it's hard to stay focused if you're not intentional with your discipline.
Yeah, my kids have said, Dad, you were never a child.
Or, you could have been a wild child like me and you've learned from that and you decided that discipline is better than being wild and out of
I was
control.
a wild child. Like I was. Like this is like what's the wildest thing you did as a child? Here's what it is. Like once I went
Share on the
ahead and was
podcast.
called here once I was called down to the principal's office in a high school.
Mm.
And I'm sitting in, outside the principal's office and I'm like, I don't know what I'm doing here. This is just weird. Like, why would I I don't know. And then a friend of mine, he came and sat down too beside me. I still didn't connect the dots. And so I went ahead and I said, oh wow, that's weird. You're here too. He's like, do you know why we're here? I'm like, I have no idea. He's like, because you sold me fireworks in school. And I'm like, so what's the problem? He's like, they're illegal. Now, if I'd have done it in Indiana, I'd have been fine because Indiana's a rogue state, not like Illinois where they like 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 it was weird. So I went ahead. I'm like, oh, huh. So that's one time I didn't fully think through my actions. Like I didn't think through my actions, and I'm like, okay, this is not going to go so well, huh? So he says, yeah, my dad went ahead and found that I had bought him, and then he made me tell who did. So then he called, and now you and I are in trouble. I'm like, thanks, buddy. So we go in, and I was all remorseful, very remorseful, like very very remorseful, and I'm like, and he says the principal's like, you have two choices. He says you can have a 3-day suspension or you can go into Taekwondo, martial arts. Well, I had wanted to go into Taekwondo. This was not a hard choice for me, which one to do. But I knew because I wasn't good in school. So my EQ is really, I mean, way, way below the charts. But obviously, because of my disability, my EQ or my IQ is low, but my EQ seemed, so I'm like, wow, okay. So I go home. The hardest ones to convince was my dad and mom. Like I'm like, they're not gonna go for this. Like they're gonna say, yeah, 3 days suspension. And so I go home. I say, yeah, mom and dad, you know, um, but my dad was raised on the farm. He was,
Mhm.
and in Wisconsin. So I was a little surprised. I said, this is kind of what happened. And I had a two choice. And they're like, okay, well, what do you want to do? And I'm like, well, I think I could learn a lot of self discipline by going into Taekwondo. So I think that would be good for me. And they're like, okay. I'm like, whoa, that worked really good.
But see, Mark, there's the thing is that you got caught. So what happens when you don't get caught? I didn't get
Hmm.
caught for a lot of the stuff that I did. How about you, Rob?
I honestly didn't do a whole lot. I was
Okay.
actually a pretty well behaved kid. I almost regret that sometimes now.
Isn't it fascinating that, Amy called on Rob? Hmm,
Hmm.
interesting.
So I want to know what your answer was to that producer's second question.
I said,
Mark,
well, just like that. I said, so I'm sure there's been a time in my life when I was out of control. I just don't remember it. And I
You
have a
must have.
pretty keen memory. I remember back to when I was 2, 3 years old. So I remember I'm not one like my oldest brother who's a CPA, which kind of explains a lot of things. Nothing degenerating CPAs, of course. I'm just saying he doesn't have any memories of his childhood, and there was no abuse. It was just he doesn't have memories of it. So self discipline. What is self discipline? Self discipline. So what I do to the kids is like they're 3 year old. They make a mistake. They make a poor choice, and I say, okay, and they say, yeah, dad, sorry about that. And then I'd be like, okay, so now you have to self discipline yourself. So at 2 and 3, I was trying to teach my children self discipline. And so I'd be like, okay, and so you got to come up with a discipline. Now, some of the kids, which is fascinating, some of the kids, this is a good, you guys know all about the marshmallow study?
I do not know about the marshmallow study.
Chris does.
Oh,
Chris,
yeah, yeah, where the kids were in the room and they were told if they could have a marshmallow. And okay, yes, I do. Sorry. Took me
see,
a second. It's early.
that's just a crazy self discipline story,
Yeah. Yep.
and so yeah, I didn't remember being out of control. Like I just didn't like Nora, she was raised Amish, so don't ask her if she's watched any movies because the answer is no. But we watched, It's a Wonderful Life. She and another friend of mine, Kenny, and my wife, that's my wife's favorite story, which is kind of weird when you think of it. Anyways, but she and Kenny and I watched X-Men. So
Mm.
again, When it's holidays, it goes all over. It gets all wonky. Like you can't track any of this. You're like, is this guy okay? So I may be the highest functioning mentally ill person that you all know. Like it's just, and Amy's got to run here soon. So self-discipline. So I teach the kids. So, one of them would say, I'm never going to eat again. It's like, that's a little too harsh. Yeah, you can't do that. Others would say, well, I can't go ahead and, I have to stay in my room for 3 minutes. So what's the whole purpose? Did you guys all see that?
Mm.
See, you got to pay attention to what's going on. So, like, which kind of a child was Nora? Was she the one that was really harsh on herself, or was she the one that went ahead and said, gave herself low self-discipline? You could tell by her face and how she responded.
I can't see anyone's face but yours, Mark. Sorry. My fiber was cut.
Oh, no. Okay. So, yes, she was one of those children that says, how about if I'm disciplined for, 3 minutes?
Yeah.
Like, so she's got that little charm, I don't know, that Southern girl charm where she could get out of she's the one that got into a lot of trouble. And, she just,
talked her way out of it.
Talked her way out, smiled her way out, did something out. Becky's affirming that. Like, yep.
So I had a tire that was low on air a week ago Monday. And I literally dressed to go to the tire shop so that they would put me first, and it worked. Damsel in distress. I have a meeting. I looked the part. It was really good. They bumped me and put me in first before all their scheduled appointments, and I had no appointment.
So I don't know if you all recognize the implications of what. Amy. Did you realize that I have a photographic auditory memory?
No.
Yeah. So you all want to be really, really, really careful about what you say around me, because I will remember it. It's just, and there's a rule, and that rule is whatever you say can and will be used for your benefit. But at the time it's being used, you're not going to think it's for your benefit. You're going to think, I hated my dad. I don't like Mark. Like, that's what it like. So self-discipline, it empowers us to become all we were created to be. Like, how can somebody not love self-discipline? I don't understand it.
Because people avoid pain. They don't want hurt. They don't want pain.
Well, they're stupid.
I know.
Why are they stupid?
Because they choose to.
Why do they choose to be stupid?
Because they think it's easier.
Well, that's because they have no comprehension. It's like poor saps.
Man. So here's a story that happened to me that'll illustrate this principle. Amy, you'll love this one. So for a while I was
Which
doing
principle is that?
About, the people that don't have self-discipline, or that don't do things in their best interests. So
is this an example of you not doing things in your own best interest then?
No, it's someone I was trying to work with.
No, you want to give yourself an example of yourself, not someone else.
Oh, well, okay.
That'll be a higher level. Otherwise, you just make yourself look good. And, well, it doesn't really make you look good, because then people are like, oh, is he one of those kind of guys? No, not to be harsh. I'm not being harsh. I'm just saying, that's what it is. And so here what you have is people don't understand. So the analytic looks at the past. The driver looks at the future. The expressive lives in the moment. And the amiable, they live in the short term. 75% of women reside in this area right here in the expressive and amiable. So when we stereotype women and stereotype men, we're actually not stereotyping men and women. We're stereotyping personalities. Now, if you say, why are 75% of women expressive and amiable? I would say, I don't know. Take it up with God. I don't know why.
Yeah.
I don't
And
know.
Mark, and
Yeah,
so that causes relationship issues with me because I'm an expressive driver. And as a
right.
woman, I rub other women the wrong way.
Big time. Right.
Yeah.
Because you're actually honest. And men love you, especially in business. They absolutely love you. And so that really ticks women off, like big time. Like it's crazy. And so if you don't understand, so when we self-discipline ourselves, that helps us to learn. And if we don't see the future, if we don't see the future, then we won't discipline ourselves in the short term. And so there's this system that we're building. There's a system that we're building to help people be self-disciplined. And the system is going back to when we were in, grade school, probably, and we had to write out 100 times, I will not chew gum. And so we're starting to build that system for adults where you have to write out 100 times, I will not do this or I will do this.
Yeah.
If that doesn't work, it goes to 250 times. And if it doesn't work at that, 500 times. And if it doesn't work at that, then 1,000 times. Now, Becky, she's a little bit of a pot stirrer. She's a little sassy. I like sassy women. Oh, they're just absolutely amazing. And so she said, "So Mark, can we get you?" I don't know. I said something, and she said, "So you made a mistake, okay, or something." I don't remember what it was. Um, Amy, did you know that I tracked all my mistakes one year?
Oh my gosh. No, I did not.
Yeah,
And I think,
it's kind of
yeah,
embarrassing.
crap. Actually, that's not a bad idea, though. That actually
Right?
would be a
That's what
good
I'm
New Year's
saying.
resolution, right? Because how do you get better unless you don't know, right? You don't realize sometimes.
See, you
Mark,
get it. Nobody else
excellent
gets it.
idea.
But yeah, do that next year. Track every mistake that you have. I did it, and again, I'm embarrassed. I just am embarrassed. Do you know how many mistakes there were, Amy?
I'm sure a lot, but I think mine would be
Oh,
really high as
it was
well.
off the charts.
Daily. Yeah, like daily, multiple mistakes daily.
Oh, well,
But
I can't relate to that. I had 7
you had 7? Dude,
all
I'd blow you
year.
out in 1 week.
Yeah, yeah, it was crazy. And people are like, wow. And I've got a record of it. My wife was tracking it. My kids were tracking it. Elise was tracking it. All the people around me, they were all like not anxious to catch me in a mistake, but and I'm like, was that really a mistake? Like me,
Well, okay. So, yeah, let's put that in perspective. Like, I'm a believer in Jesus. So, a mistake to me would be having road rage as I'm driving instead of just being calm and being in the moment, even if I'm not even late, right? So, I guess we'd have to figure out in categories what do we consider a mistake in our life?
see, now this would be a great thing because I could see if you had road rage where you're out of control, then that would be a mistake. That would be wrong.
But
Okay.
but it's road rage in my car, which is still annoying, right? So I've been
Yeah,
working
you
on that
should
for
be more
years.
disciplined with that. And I'm glad
Yeah.
you're on this call now because now we can fix the road rage. All you have to do is write out 100 times. I'll do that. So Becky's like, so you have to write things out. I'm like, ooh, I can't wait for somebody to make me write something out because that will be really cool. Like that would be the coolest thing in the world. And it's weird because she didn't follow through on it, and neither did Nora. Maybe one of you guys can. Like I can't wait for one of you to call me out and say, Mark, you need to write out, you need to write this out because that would be so cool. So self-discipline, it's magical. It's absolutely magical. And when you get around, like in the book The Great by Jim Collins,
Oh yeah.
he talks about great organizations, and great organizations consist of disciplined people, disciplined thinkers, and discipline in taking action. Disciplined
Yep.
people, disciplined thinkers, and discipline in taking action. What's fascinating about Amy is, and we'll have to do a follow up on this because Amy is a double expressive as her primary. and then double drivers are secondary. Um, something double driver is what saved her. That's what I'm going. Because double expressives, I've got a couple daughters who are double expressives. Double expressives, they don't like discipline. Like the expressive, the antithesis, the expressive hates discipline. So for Amy to love discipline, oh my goodness,
That's the driver kicking in, but also I'm so goal oriented and motivated that I know that if I want to win, I have to be disciplined. I have big goals. My goals are bigger than most of the people around me, and that takes a different type of intensity and level to get there.
yeah. So again, this is pass this along to other people. We're going to go ahead and have a part 2 of this that Amy's only going to go ahead and be able to participate in for 10 minutes. Okay. Because she's a woman. Me, I got nothing going all day. So I could have an all day podcast. This is why I am so thankful that I was created as a man. Because if I was a woman, I'd probably only have another 10 minutes too. I'm like, I don't know how women get anything done. It's so hard. They have so many responsibilities. I mean, like Nora, she only got 2.5 hours of sleep last night because her little guy was, sick and everything. Like I had 7 kids. Yeah, my wife took care of all that kind of stuff. Like
Yep.
not because she wanted to protect the economic engine. It wasn't that. It's because she loved me. Like, don't wake up your dad. He needs to make money.
Yep. Well, and I love to cook, so I'm honored that my family drove down for today for me to be able to cook for them and share one of the things I love to do. So,
Well, and yeah, we got invited for next Saturday, and because we don't have our own airplane yet, Nora and I, we got to get our act together, get a little more discipline going. Like if we, anyways, so we're going to take we're going to take another 10 minutes and then you guys can stay as long as you want to stay. But if you have any questions on anything we covered today, connect with the individual who invited you to participate in today's session, or you can call toll free 888-230-2300, outside the U.S. 630-393-9909. And always remember, we can accomplish so much more together than we ever could on our own. Have an amazing day. Bye-bye.